Hello there. My name is Bryna Coonin, and I'm Research and Instructional Services Librarian on the ECU campus at Joyner Library. And we're going to take a little time today to talk to you about some services and resources available to you as distance education students in the Library Science program here at ECU. And I'm going to share my screen with you, my desktop, so that you can see some of these resources off of the Joyner Library homepage, so you won't have to look at me the whole time. You'll look at my desktop. So let me do that now. And I will share with you the Joyner Library homepage. And this will be your home base as an ECU student for a number of reasons. Many of our resources are behind a subscription wall, and in order to get access to them, you have to come through the Joyner Library homepage to authenticate as an ECU student. Now, I will not be stopped as I do my demonstration because I'm on the ECU campus. But if you're off campus and you use an electronic journal or database or book, you will be asked for your pirate ID and password, which is the same ID and password you use for Blackboard or for your ECU email. Let's take a look at what's on this page that's helpful to you. In the upper right-hand corner of our Joyner Library homepage, and that's www.ecu.edu/LIB. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a Get Help button. If you click on the Get Help button, you'll see that we have a chat service, we have phone service, including a toll-free number for distance education students. You can text us, and you can email us through our Ask a Librarian service. Our library is open 24/7, so we are here a lot, and we're here to help connect you with the library's resources to give you a better research product. So don't hesitate to use that Get Help button if you run into any problems with your research or using Joyner Library resources. The next area of the Joyner Library webpage I'd like to show you is the Services tab. And under Services, if you click on the Services tab, it will take you to another page, Services at Joyner Library. And there are several services here that we're interested in. If you scroll down slightly on the left-hand side, you'll see a separate link for distance education. Let's click on that link to distance education. There are a variety of resources here that you can use, and I do want to point out to you that we share a lot of resources with our LIBS Health Sciences Library. So Joyner Library and the LIBS Health Sciences Library are both libraries here on the ECU campus. On the Distance Education Services page, let's now click Students. And this will tell you that you have access to the following. You can access all of our electronic journals and articles, and this includes also a number of electronic books as well. We'll see that in a moment. If you have any problems connecting, be sure to use that Ask a Librarian link. Again, a recap, text, phone, or chat, or email. The link to library tutorials is helpful because it will give you a variety of resources such as tutorials and PowerPoints on different topics of using library resources. And these are at your own pace, so they can take you through the research process, including graduate research. If you need a refresher, Library 101 is helpful as well. There are tutorials on the research process itself and on evaluating resources. That's particularly helpful when you're looking at web pages and you're not sure whether they are good quality web pages, or you're teaching others how to evaluate web pages. And then we have a tutorial on understanding databases, and we're going to cover some of that today. In addition, on the distance education page, you'll see that you have access to the online writing lab, and that's for those who may have a little trouble with writing. Maybe you're coming back to school after a while, or it was never your strong point. So when you have a term paper, if you're concerned about it, you can submit that to the online writing lab for assistance. Now, give them a lot of lead time on this one. It takes a little while for that process to take effect. Perhaps most importantly on this page, you'll see that you can borrow materials from Joiner Library, including printed materials. We have a free document delivery service, and the materials such as a printed book can be delivered to you if you live outside of Pitt County, North Carolina, through the mail, and you'll receive a return label. You can also return it for free. Inside of Pitt County, we do ask that you come into Joiner Library to pick up printed materials, but you can have them held for you at the front desk. And you'll use the Interlibrary Loan link, Interlibrary Loan Document Delivery link. You only have to create that profile one time. Now, you'll log in initially with your Pirate ID and password, and that will take you to a screen that asks you to fill out a very brief form before you see your account. And this is what the final account looks like. You can follow any requests that you've made and follow where they are, have they left the building, and are they ready for you. Most materials will be sent to us electronically so that they can be sent to you electronically. And that's for materials that the library has that you cannot get, that it's in print that you need to see, or for materials that you need that the library does not have. We can borrow those for you. Now we're back at the Joiner Library homepage, and remember, your DE services are available to you under the Services button. Let's go for a moment to this one search box here in the Joiner Library page. We often tell students, oh, well, you shouldn't just Google for a project because the resources may or may not be credible, or you'll miss so much if you only Google for the resources, and that part is certainly true, that you will miss a lot because you have to get behind that subscription wall. But having said that, we've now created a box that acts like Google. The difference is that it's Googling library resources, materials that we own that are available to you. The one search box can provide you with books, journal articles, government documents, reports, and videos. But let's see what that looks like. And then we'll see why it might be helpful to also use databases. Let's look at this for just a moment. In the one search box, I'm interested for my topic in library services for people with disabilities. Now, if that's my large topic, I may find as I begin my term paper that I need to refine my topic a little bit or adjust my topic, and you don't always know that when you begin your research. It's helpful to choose a topic tentatively and then do a little bit of research before you settle yourself into cement on that topic. Of course, discuss it with your instructor, but do a little research, because when we begin our search for library services to people with disabilities, we may find that there are disabilities, perhaps visual disabilities, physical disabilities, learning disabilities, and I may want to treat them differently, or I may want to treat this issue in a different library setting, an academic library, a public library, a school library, and each of these might serve as a refinement of my topic. Now, my topic has two concepts. It doesn't sound like it, does it? It sounds like just a phrase, library services to people with disabilities. But it's actually two concepts. The first concept is the concept of library services, And the second concept is people with disabilities. And this idea of searching by concept will be important as you help other library users to think about their searches. Why do I say that? Library services is pretty much the only way to communicate that concept, but people with disabilities can be communicated in a variety of ways. Maybe I communicate that with blind people, a certain kind of disabilities, or individuals with blindness, which would be more how we would actually refer to that, individuals with blindness, or individuals with hearing impairment. So all of these are ways to communicate the idea of people with disabilities. Let's go back to my original term. Okay, people with disabilities. Now, if I only look for library services, look what I get. And I have close to 6 million instances of library services mentioned in the database. So that's a few too many for you to look at in the course of the semester. So having just that term gets me way too many items. Let's go back to my library services, and I'm going to add the word and then complete my second concept, library services and people with disabilities. Now, will I get more items or fewer items? It seems like I would get more because the word and in English means more things. If I have red shoes and blue shoes and brown shoes and black shoes, I have more shoes. But in computer searching, the word and is what's known as a logical operator. A logical operator, sometimes known as a Boolean operator, B-O-O-L-E-A-N, Boolean operator. And that and is what makes my retrieval smaller. It crosses the two concepts. Now, I still have a lot of items here, and I don't want to see them all. They're arranged, but they're far fewer than 6 million. They're arranged by what's known as relevance, and in this database, that's decided by the computer itself, depending on how many times those terms are discovered in the title and abstract and document. Now, I can look at a variety of materials here all at once. I can look at books. I can look at articles online. If I wish to limit my search only to books, on the left-hand side, I can click Books or eBooks. And now I'm seeing planning for library services to people with disabilities. Suppose I want that book and I'm a distance education student. I need the title and the author and the fact that it's in Joiner Stacks under this call number, and that's a street address for this book, just like you have a street address at your home. So I need that information. I know that it's not checked out because it would say unavailable if someone else had it. So if I'm in Pitt County, I can come to the Joiner Library and borrow that book in person. If I'm outside of Pitt County, I can have it sent to me through interlibrary loan document delivery at no charge. And remember, I get to that link under Services, Distance Education, and then Document Delivery. Okay? Now, lo and behold, I come down just a little further, and I see a little yellow starburst. And the starburst indicates that this item is available full text. It's somewhat rare to see both a print and full text of an item. That's somewhat unusual. But in this case, we have both full text and print. So I can see the full text of this online. And at that point, you would be asked for your pirate ID and password from off campus. Okay, and I'm looking at the full text of this document, and I'm seeing that there are some planning documents from a variety of libraries and the results of a survey of what different libraries have done concerning services to people with disabilities. Okay? Alrighty. I'm back to my OneSearch retrieval, and I'm seeing some other additional books that I might like to have. I can resort these to newest first if I would like to, or I can limit my publication date in this manner using the publication date limiter. Okay? Alrighty, back to the Joiner Library homepage. Joiner Library homepage itself. Now let's look at databases. Databases. Why do I use that term database is such a common word? We often forget what it really means. And a database is a collection of single items with a shared characteristic. A collection of single items with a shared characteristic. So if you have your cell phone and I have my cell phone, we both carry a database. It's a database of our phone people, the people we call and the people who call us. Individuals with a shared characteristic of being phone users. However, unless we share a lot of friends or family, your database is different from mine. My phone people are different from yours. They're all people, they're all phone people, but they're different people. And that's what happens with article databases. Let me click on database list and you'll see what I mean. Now there's a lot going on this page. Most of it we do not need to know today. In this box on the right, there is an A to Z listing of databases by name. And I'll see for a moment that I'm interested in a particular library literature database that starts with the word library literature, and I could approach it through that box. But I'd like you to come down just a little bit to social sciences and click on library science. So the database list will recommend to you some databases that tend to have articles from library science or education-related journals. So we're not looking at medical journals. We're not looking at a database of health sciences journals. We're looking at databases that contain journals in the field of library science and education. There are several here that look like library science databases, and they have some differences. Library and information science tends to be a little heavier on information science than the library part. Library information science and technology also, but they are important databases to keep in mind if you are interested perhaps in a topic that has an international flavor to it or has technology involved. Now today we're going to use what I would call a middle-of-the-road library science database, an important one called Library Literature and Information Science Full Text. That's Library Literature and Information Science Full Text. Let's click on that. Now we are inside that database. How do I know that? After a while, the electronic environment, things kind of look alike. Interfaces are very similar, and you have to keep your bearings. We're in Library Literature and Information Science Full Text, and I know that because that information is stored right above the search boxes. Now, what are we seeing that we already recognize? We recognize from our OneSearch experience that searches may come with more than one concept, and that we may need to limit our search using that logical operator and. Okay, now let's look at our library services once again. And I'm going to take the opportunity to limit to full text. Not everything is available full text, and this will bring to the surface only those things that you could see immediately. Library services, how many do I retrieve? Articles in library literature and information science on library services. I received 26,000, perhaps a few too many for us to look at. I add my second concept, people with disabilities. Now, I have an option when I add my people with disabilities. I can go ahead and add a third term, such as perhaps a public library or school library, but let's not do that just yet. Let's look at our search results with this limitation. Now 424, is actually not a lot to begin to look through. Let's stick with this for just a moment. And I want you to look along the left-hand side of the search results, because you're seeing an icon that says Academic Journal, and let's see if that changes as we scroll down. Watch that, and let's see if that changes. Oh my goodness, it did. Suddenly, we have a periodical. Wonder what that's all about. Well, let's take a look. An academic journal, sometimes known as a scholarly journal or a research journal, a peer-reviewed journal, a refereed journal, they're all the same. And they tend to include materials by experts writing for other experts, perhaps professors writing for other professors. They tend to have some length to them. Tend to have a little length to them, in this case 6 pages. The authors will have some expertise, and there will be references at the end. Now let's take a look. Let's see if this one holds up. This has 6 pages. That's actually a little short for some of our academic articles. Let's see if this holds up. Has an abstract, a summary, very common in a research journal. Okay, we'll see that it has volumes and issues and 6 pages. Now, so far, we have not yet seen credentials for author Jill Lewis, but we should see them somewhere in this article because it's important for the author to establish his or her expertise in writing for a research journal. And we will also see at the end of the article some references. Here, let's see. There is Miss Lewis. That gives her credentials, why we should listen to Miss Lewis and read her article, and then some references at the end. And this is a comparatively small list of references. Often you'll get more than just those 2. So that's a research article. Let's go back and look at that little periodical that we saw fly by. Periodicals tend to be shorter. This one's just 3 pages, and they tend to have some pictures. They may be written by a general journalist and for all of us to read, but one characteristic is some visual enjoyment, some kind of layout, some kind of photographs. And it's often just a thought piece or some light, not light research, but not the result of an ongoing study. So this is catching us up on 2 very important laws concerning electronic access also to library materials. All right, and here we see that it has to do with law libraries. So it's concerning assisting people with disabilities in law libraries. Perhaps another way to limit my topic if I have chosen too large a topic. Okay, let me look at my results list for just a moment. See if I can make that come back, because I want to show you a simple tool that can be helpful in writing a paper. For many of us, citing the sources becomes problematic. We're just not sure how to cite our material in perhaps Chicago style or APA style. And when you're looking at an article from these databases, very often you'll see that this right-hand side, this area here, will be filled with tools if you click on the article itself. So suddenly on the right-hand side, I see that I can print my article, I can email the article to myself, I can save it, and I can cite it. So the fourth tool down is to cite it. And when I click the Cite button, I'm presented with the examples of how to cite this particular article in APA style. I can cut and paste it and put it in my references. Or Chicago style. Cut and paste it. Okay, so now I know how to cite my article for my paper. That's one database that we're interested in. Let's return to the Joiner Library homepage for just a moment and look at one other database that can be very valuable to us in the library science program. And that database is called ERIC. So once again, we click on Database List. We scroll down to the Social Science and Education area. We click on Library Science once again, and we're back to that list of some recommended databases. And this time I would like to select ERIC via EBSCO, ERIC, Educational Resources Clearinghouse. I'll tell you a little more about ERIC in just a moment, but ERIC via EBSCO is helpful, particularly for those of you that are already working in an educational setting or hope to do so. ERIC is an old database. It started in the 1960s, and it came out of the impulse of educators to share. And I don't know many other disciplines that are willing to share in the same way that educators are. It's just part of their DNA, I think. So they wanted to share information, as we do today, on what works best in education. And there wasn't really a good place to do that quickly. If they shared it in the published journal literature, then most teachers do not have subscriptions to most journals. So the very people they wish to share with would be cut out from the information. So the ERIC, Educational Resources Clearinghouse, ERIC, began to provide a way for educators to share information with other educators. So there are two parts to ERIC, and that's why we're here. In our previous search, we had access to the journal literature, and while ERIC certainly can do that, it also gives us access to what are known as ERIC documents, those shared documents. So let's take a look here at our library services and people with disabilities. And I can also limit to full text. Now, I am certainly seeing journal articles as I scroll down. I can see journal articles. Here's an academic one. But I'm also seeing dissertations and special reports. So ERIC can provide for me information about my library topic, sometimes case studies, sometimes government reports. But it's information that may not be available to me if I remain only in an article database. Now, I should be able to get full text from ERIC. Let's see if I can do that. Here's the ERIC document number. That's the defining number for that document. So that number is important in a citation as well, because it indicates to anyone coming after you that this was an ERIC document and has to be procured from within the ERIC database. Let's click on full text from ERIC and see what we have. We have an abstract, okay? And I'm also seeing something that's very important to librarians to give added value We are helping people often in a keyword environment. Everyone thinks of Google. We speak in natural language. We use a keyword environment. But as librarians, we have to add a little bit of value to what people are doing, not always searching just for keywords. And that's what these descriptors help us do. Suddenly we see that there is another way to express people with disabilities. We may need to use the word accessibility, library services, and accessibility for the disabled. And these are what's known as ERIC descriptors. ERIC has assembled has indexed their articles under ERIC descriptors, and it will help us search. In just a moment, I'll show you a more dramatic example of the ERIC descriptors. But let's look at this report. It almost looks like an old typewriter, doesn't it? Probably was. This is the initial page of this, not the actual report itself, with the abstract. And here's the report. Okay. So this came from a set of proceedings. They went to a conference and presented a paper, and they were kind enough to share it with all of us. The chances of us finding those proceedings published somewhere that we could ever retrieve again are very slim. So adding it to the ERIC Clearinghouse makes it available to us all. So we feel fortunate to have that. And let's go back to ERIC for just a moment. Now, in our ERIC database, remember I mentioned that in the electronic environment, everything starts to look alike? Well, this certainly is the case with ERIC and Library Lit, because the vendor is the same and the search screen looks the same. So the only way I can keep my bearings is to look above this little search box and note that I'm searching ERIC. Now, ERIC is a very well-constructed database. And ERIC has what is known as a thesaurus of subject descriptors. And librarians care about this. Anyone on the street probably doesn't care about this, but we have to care about it. We have to add a little value to what the rest of our clients and users are doing. So, browsing the ERIC thesaurus, why would I ever want to do that? Well, let's take an example. If I want to search in the education database for something concerning women, and I look in the ERIC thesaurus, I'm not happy with my retrieval. It's not coming up with enough material. So I look in the ERIC thesaurus, and here's what I see. That in the ERIC database, articles concerning women or some some aspect of women are stored under the subject descriptor of females. So when I search the ERIC database, if I'm trying to be comprehensive and I want to help my users be comprehensive, I will change this subject field to my subject descriptor and use females. And I may want to use females in library services, maybe library directors. So women who are library directors, and I use the ERIC subject descriptors to draw those articles together, then added my second term, library directors. And when I receive my retrieval, I note that they have in fact used females descriptor. And for us, the subject areas and this material below the citation, below the author, Karen Hatcher, journal name, Journal of Library Administration, volume, issue, and page, the information below that can help me as a librarian figure out some more terms that I might use. Okay? Now, what else can I do on the Joiner Library homepage that's important for this project? I may need to find a specific journal article for which I have the citation information. So perhaps a professor suggests an article to you, or you're looking at an article and you're following up the references on that particular article itself. So at this point, we want the eJournal portal because we want to find a particular article in the Journal of Library Administration. We were given a particular citation, and we want to find that journal. Let's do that. And you'll see that we do have a subscription to the Journal of Library Administration. By the way, this little digit number, ISSN number, ISSN, an 8-digit number separated by a hyphen, and that's kind of like the Social Security number for that journal, a unique journal number for that journal, which often vendors use to refer to that journal, and it helps you as a librarian because you can have journal names that are very similar and sometimes alike, and that ISSN number can help you figure out whether you have the correct one. Now, we're interested in dates here, and we see that if we need a current issue, 1997 to the present, we must take this link. If we are interested in another date, we have the option to click another link. Now, we appreciate in Joiner having a number of possible vendors. If one is down, perhaps the other is up. So it's helpful to have more than one vendor if you can for even similar dates. Let's look at what happens when we click on that particular link. It takes us to the Journal of Library Administration, and then we can look for our specific volume. And of course, I've already forgotten the volume number of the article on women library directors because I didn't write it down, and that's what I get. But had I remembered correctly, I would have access to that particular volume and issue. And then you will see the full text of those articles. The little green box indicates that you'll have access to that full text. Okay, so to review, Joiner Library homepage, always get help if you need it. Don't hesitate to do that. Our services button will take you to our distance education services right here. Our database list link will take you to databases such as ERIC or Library Lit, and the eJournal portal will be there if you have a specific citation that you're looking for. Okay, well, I told you you wouldn't have to look at me again, but here I am one last time. I hope this has been helpful to you, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with me or with Joiner Library. We wish you the best in your program, and let us help if we can. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I hope we'll see you or hear from you again very soon. Bye-bye now.